Annie Oakley. Annie Oakley was born in a small Ohio town. As soon as she could lift her daddy's hunting rifle, he was teaching her to shoot. When her daddy died, her mama was left in an awful way. She had a hard time feeding Annie and the other children. Annie saw how hard her mama was working and decided to help. She picked up her daddy's rifle and went hunting. That first day she brought some more fat pheasants than she could carry. Her family never went hungry again. Little Annie became the best hunting in the country. Quick. She started selling the extra food to the people around town and giving food to those who couldn't afford. This went on for years until a man named Frank Butler came to town. He was a sharpshooter and he put quite on a show of shooting targets. At the end of the show, he asked the crowd if they knew anyone who was a better shoot. The town people said they knew of one person and sent someone off to fetch Annie. When Frank saw short Annie, who was skinny enough to hide behind a cornstalk, he laughed. "Is this the best you've got?" Frank asked. The town people said yes. Annie just smiled. "All right then, since a lady is challenging me, I let her pick the contest." "Shooting cards," Annie said proudly. "Are you sure?" Frank replied. "I'm the best card shooter in the West." Annie nodded and said, "We'll be shooting cards at Watch." Frank went first. A boy set up 5 playing cards in little notches on a fence so the edge faces Frank. From where Frank stood, they were all but invisible. He took a deep breath and fired. He hit 3 cards, one through the middle and the top and 2 others. Tops of 2 others. Annie stepped up, a small smile from her face. She asked the boy to set up cards on 2 fences opposite each other. Annie's hand moved like lightning as the gunshots were thunder. She shoots the cards in front of her clean in half of barely a thought. Then she pulled out a mirror and shoot the cards behind from over her shoulder. Annie had won, and Frank asked her to come to the road with him. Annie started making a name for herself. As the best shooter in the West, people would toss pennies and dimes in the air at her shows. She was fast enough to shoot everyone before it hit the ground. Any coin shot by Annie Oakley would immediately quintuple in value. Once a man became rich by throwing a bundle of silver dollars in the air. Annie shoot Buffalo Bill's Wild Old West show was the biggest show in the world. Buffalo Bill heard of the lady sharpshooter and had to see her talent for himself. He took the famous Lakota chief Sitting Bull with him to one of Annie's shows. That That was good, but not good enough for my show, Buffalo Bill told Annie afterwards. Show me something amazing. Sitting Bull pointed a speck high in the sky. Annie aimed and shot. The speck flew on, and Buffalo Bill shook his head and started to walking away. Wait, said Sitting Bull. A few minutes passed, and a single tail feather from a large eagle drifted down. There was a bullet hole in the middle. Sitting Bull was so impressed that he named her Little Sure Shot. Buffalo Bill nodded and said, "What else have you got?" Annie climbed a nearby hill, kneeling, aimed and fired. Then she kept firing again and again, always in the same direction. She came down the hill smiling. "What were you shooting at?" Buffalo Bill asked. "You'll see," Annie said. Buffalo Bill and Sitting Bull said their goodbyes and started the long journey back to the Wild West show tents. They rode for almost a week before they saw the camp next to a huge large boulder. As they came closer, Buffalo Bill saw a message on the boulder. It was an address carved by Annie's bullet. Buffalo Bill sent a telegram to the address inviting Annie Oakley to join the Wild West show. She did and went on to do even greater feats and all over the world. They said she even made some new stars by shooting holes in the sky, but that's another tale.